In the year 1967, some scientists made an experiment on two groups of dogs. In fact, you could argue that these experiments were not the best with respect to some ethics, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. In this experiment, the first group of dogs were forced to endure a painful experience, in this case an electric shock, and they couldn't do anything about it. They were forced to endure this pain. While the second group of dogs, on the other hand, were put in the same exact situation, with only one major difference, being that they could escape this painful situation just by choosing to jump over a wall or do something. So they had control, or they thought they had control over the situation. The thing that really surprised me when I continued reading this experiment was that the first group of dogs, when they swapped positions or when they swapped conditions with the second group of dogs, and they now had a choice over escaping this painful experience that they experienced before, the results didn't change. The first group of dogs just endured the pain of the electric shock over and over, thinking they had no choice over anything, even when they had the opportunity to escape. The first group of dogs endured the painful experience as if they had learned they couldn't do anything from their experience before. And that's why when the experiment ended, the scientists called this mental state learned helplessness, as if you learned that you couldn't help yourself. So is this mental state real or not, and whether it can be manifested in humans or not, is something that I'm not sure of, because I'm not a psychologist. But why did I bring it up? Well, because I feel like, and I believe, that this mental that the first group of dogs had a lot of similarities with me when I was in elementary and prep school. Who else thought of school at times as being a painful experience, or an inescapable prison, or even an uncomfortable place? I could now talk about many social experiences that I had in elementary and prep school that meet the criteria of being a painful experience, or at least uncomfortable, but that's not what I want to talk about too. I think the social aspect of the problem is easily solved after growing up, but the thing that really bothers me is the academic aspect of the problem. You see, school is highly associated with science, and the way a student looks at science is probably the same way he looks at school, and vice versa. So when a student feels that that school is just a painful experience, so does science. So when young children start to view school as a painful experience, so does science and knowledge. And after a while, the student becomes hateful of both science and knowledge. After a while, and thinks of it as just an unavoidable, painful experience, although some people sadly avoid it. So why did I want to talk about this? Well, partly because I feel like, partly because looking back at my childhood, I feel like that's what happened to me. I started out loving math and science, especially math. Weird, right? What a nerd, right? And then I gradually, bit by bit, started hating everything. School and science just became a daily, painful, inescapable experience for me. And I believe that the learned helplessness mental state is related in one way or another to what I just mentioned. One day I realized this simple idea of relying on myself more instead of school, when my math teacher told us that he will help us buy a math book to become better at math and to understand it better. I thought to myself at that moment, wait, you can actually do that? And can I really have another way of learning instead of other than the long, boring semesters offered to us in school? A lot of things happened after that, including a change in my environment and a change in the mindset. And after having my love for mathematics reignited, I restarted my look on science, and I started to remember how I loved science and math and all sorts of knowledge. And I hope this becomes the message that reaches every young student watching this video. Please don't lose your interest in science. School is not just a painful experience that couldn't be avoided. You can always develop yourself to become a better, more knowledgeable person. And that's probably the one most important thing that I learned in high school, is that you can always develop yourself to become a better person, even if you're alone. And no matter your environment or school, you can always develop yourself. One point I want to make clear is that no, I don't think that schools promote learned helplessness mental state. I just think that there are some special cases that are like me, and I just want to help those special cases and everyone else to know and love science. And I just want everyone to look at science and math the same way I look at them. Like, science is truly beautiful, not painful.